Hey boys and girls, Cursed Curator here. So we are tackling our newest series on the channel, which is called Curations Visual Novels. And our first visual novel is Gnosia. This is my favorite kind of game, honestly, where you have to go through time loops and such and like figure out who's the murderer. I love those games. You'll be seeing a lot of those being covered. But let's actually go through the outline of how we're handling this series from henceforth. I'll be introducing the game, and then I will be telling you if it's a visual novel or not. What's it about? Introducing the characters, my opinions on the game, should you play it, and finally the closer. This is also to be done on Friday, but I had work the very next day, and I just didn't feel fucked doing it, you know? So let's first introduce the game. Gnosia is a sci-fi social deduction RPG. The story takes place on a spaceship. Among the crew are several mysterious life forms, known as Gnosia, but on a complete eradication of humankind. The Gnosia quietly eliminate one crew member each night. The player can select whether to play as a human, where they must find all the Gnosia and put them into a state of suspended animation, or rather, cold sleep. To win are Gnosia, where your goal is to attack and eliminate each crew member until the Gnosia outnumber remaining humans. Progress through the story by playing 10 to 15 minute rounds, or rather loops. It is a werewolf-style indie game that has already garnered overwhelming positive feedback in Japan. In addition to the story, in gameplay, the characters and their interpersonal relationships are also an integral part of what makes this game unique and special. Themes of friendship, love, trust, life, and death, and interpersonal identity are carefully explored, and Gnosia features a diverse and inclusive cast of characters ignoring genre stereotypes. So, this visual novel is indeed a visual novel, despite what VNDB will say. It is a visual novel. It checks off every single box for me that I've already covered in another video where I basically tackle, what a visual novel is and how I define them. So, fuck VNDB, as always. They have a death grip, and I hope a rival appears one day. So let's go into the characters and watch this. We're about to change the image on the screen for you guys. Boop! So this is our first character, Setsu. She is an 18-year-old non-binary person. She is a soldier, but I do want to say I will not be spoiling too much going on here. I don't want to, reveal way too much. So I will try and be as short as I can with these characters. With other visual novels, I'll be much more because there's a lot more to talk about. Setsu is the first character that you will meet in the game, and she is, well, debatably one of the friendliest. So let's go on to our next character. This is our boy Chippy. He is, unique. He is a young man who loves, and who is almost always talking about cats. Throughout the game, you'll learn a lot more about him and other characters, and you have to do this throughout various loops. No matter how it ends, you will learn about something about these characters at some point. Our next character is Comet. Comet is a wild girl. She is one of the best girls. How do I explain this character? Is that she is very, very annoying in game itself if she's against you, because she's really good at spotting lies and stuff. So that's just her. Let's go to our next character. This is Gina. She is, well, the best girl, in my opinion. She is rather indifferent at first, but you will learn quite quickly that she is very warm-hearted, and that she is always trying to find the meaning of existence, or rather, her own, to not be too much in there. And she's also one of the few characters where you can tell something's up. That's what I'll say. Our next character is Jonas. Jonas is a character introduced to us much later, unlike the first few initial crew. We'll talk about that a bit more later. He is interesting, because he's saying words that are not commonplace in this future. He's speaking more like us, or rather, even before us. This next character I cannot pronounce the name of, but I will certainly fucking try. This is Kukrushka. She has a very Russian, or rather Eastern European sounding name. She is, unlike all the other characters, a mute. She cannot speak. And when you're introduced to her, things can get pretty wild, depending how it is. This game is rather scripted, at least in the initial portions where you're being introduced to characters. Outside of those parts, you're not being really scripted to. We'll be more into that a bit later, of course. Nothing much about her is really known, and you'll learn more about her throughout, well, playing the game, of course. Our next character is the lovely and fantastic Atome. Now, as you can see that she does not look at all human. She is a dolphin, bro. She has the ability to speak the human language, and she wears a water-filled bodysuit. Basically, and she wears not that she doesn't wear this, but she drives around in a cart to basically get around, and she is very kind. Our next character is a character who I find to be annoying, and she's liked by some, is Raquio. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sure it's up in the air. She is one of our non-binary characters. I'm sorry for saying she. They are one of our non-binary characters. They are very annoying. They are, how do I say this? When you have enough information in a game to basically to pinpoint who a Gnosia is, they are immediately on it. Raquio is immediately on it, and due to how they are personality-wise, you won't believe them. That's what I'll say. This next lovely fellow is Remnant. I hope I said that right. They are very shy, they're introverted, and he can be annoying sometimes, depending how things go. He can either be your best ally or one of your worst enemies. But this next person is one of the most hated characters in the fandom, at least from what I've seen, is Sha Ming. He is a pervert. He does not take no for an answer. Because he is constantly hitting on Setsu, who is non-binary, and he refers to Setsu as a woman when they are non-binary. At least from what I remember. It has been a few months since I last played, so I could, of course, forget some things, so please do excuse me on that. A lot of this is just my personal notes that I've written down, and I'm relying more on memory, and of course I have played here and there throughout the times, but it's not enough to really draw a real good portrait here. Our next lovely character, hold on, I'll explain a little bit more of this guy. Besides him being a pervert, he is selfish. He only cares about his own survival, which, I mean, fair, honestly. And he does not like standing out. He's a character who, honestly, in any situation, I would actually agree with his selfishness. I don't care about the pervert part. He should respect the wishes of a female and non-binary members, of course, but Lord, he can even be annoying. Our next character is Shigamichi. I hope I said it right. So he's clearly a human, you know. There's nothing wrong here, obviously. He is a human, and that's all you need to know. He is a bright individual, and people often listen to him and what he has to say, just to know how friendly he is. He can be your best buddy or your worst nightmare, depending on how you're playing the game. This next character, she's great. Just be ready for a lot of annoyingness. Sometimes. So she, unlike the other characters, she is a rather dishonest individual. That's what I'll say. And she can be kind of perverted sometimes. Just sometimes. It's not too bad. I feel like they were really going for an angle with this character, though. Not much else to say about her. She's a very important character, though. That much I will say. It's just that I can't really say much about her. And just know that some things that she can say can sound really genuine, but can also be false. And things that sound false can be genuine. That's what I'll say about her. Our next character is Stella. She is great. She's just great, man. She is a kind young woman who treats everyone rather gently and politely. And unlike other characters, she has a pretty high role on the ship. She handles the administration and management. And also another character, basically based around her, kinda, called Levy, which is the ship's virtual intelligence, or its AI system. It uses a picture, basically, of her, kinda, at least as far as I remember. And the last character is a character who I despise. I hate her the most throughout the entirety of the game. She is annoying, and I wish she would perish. Um, Yuriko. I, I hate Yuriko. She is mysterious, and she has an indescribable power. Um, she has very high skill. She is the most dangerous person on the ship, debatably. It's not really even a debate, honestly, because you were warned outright by I believe Setsu that you should be careful around Yuriko just due to how dangerous she is. Yes. If Yuriko finds that you have annoyed her or wronged her in some way, she will pull everyone together to basically try and, well, fuck you over. That is who she is. So let's head back to the start here. So you have gotten a pretty good grasp on these characters. At least I hope I explained it properly for you all. Let me take a little sip of water here. Okay, so now we're beyond the whole bend here of explaining the characters. I'll now give my opinion on the game itself. So when I first hopped in this game, I expected a game very similar to Raging Loop, Zero Escape, and another game called Missing Time. It's a bit more out there. You might not have heard of it, but it is similar to Raging Loop because they're both werewolf games at the end of the day to a degree, and they also have time loops. But the difference here is, while Gnosia is presented as a visual novel, and I've already established that it is a visual novel, it's not the standard typical visual novel. It's not traditional, that's for certain, because the dialogue is kind of secondary. You pick up all these things here and there throughout the story that's presented to you. You have to keep talking to people, you have to keep going over the loops, and eventually you will get everything you need to progress. As I said before, I'm not going to try and spoil too much, but I will say this. The first initial part of the game is scripted. Unlike many other parts, the parts where you're being introduced to the roles, which I'll go over very briefly very soon, is that this is where the part is being scripted. Some of the loops will be, there's no way for you to win or that you will always win. And when it comes to the first loop, you will find that a character, I will not say who, just because that they were the Gnosia on the first loop will not mean that they're the Gnosia on the second. And the game will basically come at you for assuming that that character was Gnosia again. I distinctly remember that. And people express confusion. And not only that, the character, the protagonist, actually recalls that, hey, I've been through this before, I know who did it, well, I'm going to point my finger at them. And it does not go in your favor. Another such event like this is when you first encounter the character Yuriko. Now, I should actually basically describe how this works. So there are two crews. So it's not really two crews. There's initial and there's unlockable. So the first initial crew is the player, Setsu, Gina, SQ, and Rakuyo. These are the first people that we get to know. The protagonist is confused, just as we, the player, are confused. They are our self-insert. They don't really have much of a background. Although there is a anime coming out for the game where the protagonist actually has a whole design and everything going on. Their name is Yuri. I do not have an image for him, and they are not, as far as I understand, they are not the canon protagonists. They are just how the anime studio perceives them. Although one of the designers for the game did design Yuri, which is really cool. We don't know their gender. To me, they seem to be either male or non-binary. I'm not too sure, but we'll see. But beyond that, we have what is called unlockable characters. Now, I do not remember the exact order that we encounter all these characters in, but this includes Stella, Shimigichi, Shimamichi, I cannot pronounce these names sometimes, Chippy, Comet, Jonas, Kashuka, Otome, Xiaoming, Renmin, and Yuriko. Now, back to Yuriko is a character who, as I already said before, she is dangerous. You do not want to mess with her. And something that you become aware of as the player is that you kind of have plot armor. And your plot armor, it kind of makes you, well, kind of invincible to a degree. And a character known as Yuriko, well, she has, as described before, an indescribable power. Well, she kind of takes away your plot armor. She can do that, and she did that. I hated Yuriko for that, and no matter what you do, there is no way to avoid that. You can win your whole fight in the loop, for the discussion phase that occurs during the day. It doesn't matter. You can still lose it, and that's how it is. um, Sorry about that. I just want to describe this my visceral hatred for Yuriko. Although she is well designed, I love her design. So now let's go in through the actual gameplay, because this is where things get really important. This is basically what sets it apart from a standard visual novel, is that it actually has RPG-esque mechanics to a degree. Let's go through the abilities, or rather, skills, as I'll really point them out here to be, honestly. So this is your RPG-esque mechanics, such as charisma, intuition, logic, charm, performance, stealth. Those are your main ones to go about here. The NPCs have their own things going on, but generally, these are the stats that you need to basically win people over or basically not stand out. So charisma is your stat to basically determine how much people will trust you and be swayed by what you say. Your intuition basically determines how much you as a player or character can identify lies and such and see if they have a antagonistic role. Excuse me. And also there's logic, of course, which basically is based on trust, which is actually a hidden stat. The more logic that you have is actually the more damage you can do to a character's trust level when you attack them, which it can be a double-edged sword, honestly. Charm, which is basically a defensive stat, you can basically it reduces the amount of amicability and trust that decreases when attacked. Sorry, I had to think of words there. Performance, which targets a character's amicability. The higher the performance stat, the more damage it will deal to the target's amicability, and likewise boost recovery of it. Stealth, it all revolves around hate, which is another hidden mechanic. Stealth reduces the amount of hate that you get. That one's hate increases and decreases, and it also helps you keep a solid middle ground when basically you're doing a whole thing going on there. So now something that's so important is that it's not just you that have stats. Every character has stats in the game, from Setsu all the way down to Yuriko, and it actually makes sense as to why Yuriko is most dangerous. Outside of all the characters, she has the highest base stats in the game. Her weakest stat is stealth with a 12. That's still higher than some other characters. Not all of them, mind you. But every other stat she has is extremely high. And at max, she is still high. Only still losing out in stealth to most of other characters, which is really insane. So beyond just the stats, we should talk about the other most important part here is the roles. There are a total of 8 roles in the game. So the first role that we are introduced to is the crew member. You start out as a crew member, and, well, you can't really do too much as a crew member. You don't really have any special things going on. You are kind of useless in a sense. And there's a lot more crew members than anything else. So the next and most important, debatably the most important role is Gnosia. The Gnosia, your goal is basically to, well, murder, eliminate the other people on the ship, be they crew member or otherwise. Beyond them, you have your engineer. The engineer is someone that's actually capable of basically analyzing things and, how do I say this? They can check if a person is a human or a Gnosia. That is something that's so important. And they have another thing which is very important, but I'll get to that in a bit. The next character or character role that's important is the doctor. They can examine bodies, basically determine who is and who is not Gnosia. Next up is the guardian angel. This is someone basically that can, how do I say this? They can select anyone that they want to basically protect from a Gnosia attack. They are one of the most important if you want to basically clutch up a loop, if you will. Next up is guard duty. These are two people that are guaranteed to be human. No matter what, they are human. And they were on a ship before, anyone else. And they will vouch for each other because there are 2 of them, unlike other people who are like, oh, you can't do that. Next up is the AC follower. These are the anti-cosmic followers who basically follow the Nosians, or Vinosia. They are on the side of Gnosia, and they can really mess things up for you if you're not careful. Especially, it's kind of obvious though after a bit because they make it very blatant that they are on the side of Gnosia, so it's pretty easy to tell who's good and who's bad. And the final role, the most dangerous role, in fact, because well, there's only one way to get rid of them, and that's the engineer who can get rid of them, is the bug. This is the last role that you're actually introduced to in the game, and they can only be eliminated by the engineer. They are actually human technically, but they're they are what's considered as a cosmic mistake. They are a glitch, and if they survive until the end of the loop, no matter if it's the humans or Gnosia who win, the bug will basically be the true winner, no matter what. If they survive, it's over. So it's very important to basically get rid of them. It's not easy to do so either. So just be warned about that. So beyond that, let us hop into one of the last things we'll talk about here is skills. So there are a lot of skills. These skills allow you to, to do things in the game, you basically your talking points. Speaking on that, there are two phases in the game. There is a discussion phase, which is the largest part of the game, where basically you do your loops, basically determine who the Gnosia is and whatnot like that. And there's the night phase, where I believe you go around and basically pursue who you want to pursue. You talk to them, you basically learn about them, and you continue from that. But these skills are more or less used solely, I believe, inside discussion phases. And I'll go over a few of them, not all of them, because there are too many. Doubt, agree, refute, defend, join defense, cover together, say thanks, argue, join argument, state role, which is one of the more important ones, reveal role, exaggerate, and the last one I'll talk about is shut up. Oh, and I guess this is prone too. Let's cooperate. Basically, these skills, are ones that you'll be using constantly. You'll see more often than not, and so even though I played before, I've not seen all these talking points or like skills brought up at all. I've seen some of them, just not all of them. But I believe that's all I really have to talk about on my opinion. I think. But before I actually end off this part of the thing is, I found this game to be very fun. It's a game that I promise, if you play it, you'll be hooked in for hours. You want to solve this mystery. It is so good, man. Like, just so good. And the music choice, at first I didn't care for it, but it really grew on me. The same way with designs of the characters. Some of the characters I'm like, wow, this is kind of outlandish. This is kind of weird, but it really grew on me. Like a topic it's really hard for me to wrap my head around, and I apologize if I offend anyone on this, is the topic of gender. And I grew up in a household where there's only two genders, there's male and female, and when I see this non-binary stuff, I see the character and they look a lot more feminine, and I sometimes say the female pronouns and such. I apologize if I offend you for that. I don't mean to do that. It's something I will be working on as I go through this, because I imagine I'll encounter a lot more non-binary characters as I go on. I just want to say that, as I'm very sorry if I offend anybody about that. Anywho, on to our next line of talk, which is, should you play the game? Well, yeah, I already kind of did that already with the last spiel I did. Is that this game will, lock you in, and you'll basically be stuck playing it for hours on end, like I did. I was like days on end trying to like theory craft on how the story all comes together, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I really need to play this game a lot more. And let's close it off here. Is, wow, this is a game that I think people will really, really enjoy, even more so that they somehow cobbled over the story to make an anime. I'm very excited to actually watch it. It's going to be very intriguing. Beyond that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. It's something that it's very much experimental for me. I did not know how this was going to go. And honestly, I'm even if it goes horribly, people don't care for it, I'm still going to do it. I really enjoyed visual novels. There's a lot more I want to do with this, but do let me know if you guys actually like want to see like play these games. Some games that actually have like narration, I won't have to speak too much, which is fortunate. I'll only cover the protagonist as an internal monologue, I guess you could say, or describing of the areas. Other games don't do that. It's kind of expensive to do that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe for more, and peace.